The professor, it says, this is the person who has changed my life a lot. One interesting guy, whose name is Vladas, found an event which was happening in London, and he just invited me to go there. And I was sitting there on the first floor of a massive skyscraper, and then the professor came in. The reason why it's written the professor, because there are many professors with the letter A before. And this was really different in a way that he managed to say some things, to verbalize, to vocalize some of the things that I always felt that they exist. And he was mainly speaking about the brain. And here you see a picture of the brain which shows two hemispheres, the right and the left. And it's very dangerous to show this photo because there are some mistakes in the collective knowledge which are so deep with us that we believe them, and they are actually wrong. One of the most known mistakes is called the Aristotle Error. It's funny. You know this guy in ancient Greece, Aristotle. The Greeks somehow were sure that women have less teeth than men. It was completely obvious for everybody. And Aristotle, being so wise as he was, he really was sure about this all the time. And it went with us for a very long time until some point in 18th or 19th century, somebody said, let's count. And you know what? We discovered that the amount of teeth obviously is the same with men as with women. The mistake which is traveling about two hemispheres is that one hemisphere is doing this and the other hemisphere is doing that. The simplified version of this mistake is that the left hemisphere is doing maths and the right hemisphere is doing poetry. And as with teeth of women, it's wrong. Actually, we are doing everything with our both hemispheres. All the time, both of our hemispheres are in action. But there is a reason why we have two instead of just one. And actually, all the mammals and even some other creatures have two hemispheres. There is a biological reason for that. The hemispheres have very different attention. That's the main difference. And in this picture, what you see is two different forms of attention. The left hemisphere is concentrated on separate, specific things. Separate, specific things. The right hemisphere, the attention that right hemisphere uses, does not concentrate on the specifics. It concentrates on the context, on the relationships, in the things in between. To show you how these things work, I would like to ask your help. Take your arm. Spread your fingers as a frog as much as you can. As much as you can. Hold it like that. What do you see? Yeah, obviously. You see a hand, you see 5 fingers, don't you? 5 fingers. Yeah, you can hold your hand like that, wait for a while. But then, obviously, these are 5 fingers. But this is also 4 spaces in between the fingers. I can see you, somehow through these fingers. You can't see through the fingers themselves, but you can see through the spaces. So it's just to demonstrate. You can put your hand down. No need to keep it like that. But if we only were using left hemisphere, we would only see the specifics. We wouldn't see any connection and any context. That's why we need both. The problem about 2 hemispheres is that one hemisphere during last 1,000 or a few thousand years has become the master, and the other hemisphere has become the servant. And because of that, many things that we are not happy today have happened. So what I want to say with this one, both are really important. We can't live with just one. We have to learn to use both. But through our schools and through our systems of education, we are putting the left one as a servant and the attention of the left one, as the master. The left one becomes the master. The one which separates things becomes the master. And if you remember yourself in the primary school, you're sitting there surrounded by lots of kids, playing things, singing, lots of things happening, lots of relationships being built, and you really learn a lot in your primary school. But suddenly, you go to your 5th grade, and in your 5th grade, you are being asked to sit in a chair, to be separate from these other human beings inside your classroom, and to concentrate on one specific subject for these specific 45 minutes. And the school system is actually doing that from the grade 5 to 12. The left hemisphere goes into action. And I remember myself, I really was a very happy kid. I remember myself playing in my village. We had our village mafia. We were constructing things, we were destroying things, we were playing from the morning to the evening. It really seemed that this experience is full. It's like my full head was operating. And then after the summer vacations, I had to go back to Vilnius, and I had to go back to the classroom, and I felt that something was missing. You know, at the end of 12th grade, I was, successful, looking from the left hemisphere point of view. I had my perfect exam results and things like that, but I wasn't happy. I was completely lost. I was fat. I was smoking. I was drinking. I didn't know what to do. So I went into law. The discipline, which really is left brain. You take a small specific thing and you work with that for 2 years. You get a massive amount of money for doing that. But then at some point I woke up. I felt like my head is what am I doing there? What am I doing with these people? I'm not interested in that. So I left. And all the other years that I lived, it felt as if I am learning again something very, very fundamental. How to use my other half of the brain. So, my suggestion for you is don't let them destroy half of your brain with tools of mass instruction. Specifically with this one. Has any of you been sitting on one of those? This is the most uncomfortable thing on earth. You have to be really, really weird to buy this one and to put it somewhere at your home. To watch movies or to have dinner conversations. Even worse, these things are still for sale. Somebody is selling them. Oh my God, there are more of those. There are specific sets of these things that make your other half of your brain disconnect. This is called a modern classroom. Don't look at the pictures, strange pictures on the wall. But this is, a thing of pride. This is a modern classroom, and you see these rows. This specific thing is constructed in a way that it only works with your half of your brain. This is a driving school, by the way. And have you ever been driving and met another driver who had just one part of his or her brain functioning? Yeah, it's obvious. They know how to drive. They can shift gears like pros, They can even drift and stuff like that. But these things happen, and this is because the right hemisphere is not in place, actually. It's not concentrating on the connections, on what's happening in between the cars, not only how to accelerate and stop. So, my idea is, this is a very interesting person, and I like him a lot. And I don't know if the photo is big enough for you to see, but this is Elon Musk from Tesla, SpaceX, and so on. What I really like about him is that in his presentations, he says the essence in very, very few words. In here, he is speaking about global warming, about CO2. And here you have a chimney, and he says, that this is real. Let's do something. This is bad. So, this is real. This is bad. I'm not saying that we should get rid of these totally. Even now, we are sitting on the chairs. We are listening to the presentations of people sitting there. But it has a limitation, actually. It has a limitation because if you just sit like that, you wouldn't have a space to connect with other human beings. Maybe 2 or 3 chairs from you, there is a person sitting who might change your life, or who might know something that is very, very, very important. So, what I am proposing, let's not go to extremes. Of course, some part of me says, let's ban these awful school chairs. At least let's bring, let's make them a bit more comfortable. But what I'm proposing is let's have a 50-50 in our education, actually. Have a 50% for our left hemisphere, for the specific things. Let's learn history, let's learn geography, let's learn some basic maths, let's learn all these things. But it's just 50%. The other 50% is what is really key, what is core. It's what's in between ourselves. And in here I have a picture. The photo is taken in some village school in a very, very neglected village, and many of these kids go to school to get free meals and so on. But this is a photo of kids together with some businessmen having a lesson, just a different type of a lesson. They are constructing towers from spaghetti and marshmallows. You have 2 teams. Both teams are constructing a thing. The task is to construct a tower as high as possible, and it falls down. It's a collaborative effort. It's really hard to construct a thing like that. And one team is working, using one scenario, the other team is working using the different scenario. But what is happening here is both hemispheres in action. Not only we are learning about some valuable lessons in construction, maybe in maths, maybe in persistence, but also we are going outside the box. We're going outside the box of one classroom, one group of people, one age, one lesson, one topic. This is a very awful box we have on this. And after having, if we spend 6 or 7 years, in these boxes, we start to see world in boxes. Then suddenly we look at the news and, we feel disconnected from what's happening in the other parts of the globe, for example, Take Syria. Me, as a Lithuanian, I was just looking into the news and seeing these awful things happen, and I thought, another awful thing, that's just bad. But the world is not like that. Syria is not a box. And half a year after that, we start to see that, the Syrians are coming here because they really feel so bad in their place that they have to go somewhere else where they feel better. So the world is definitely not a box. And you have a right to demand and to create education which works for 2 hemispheres of your brain. Actually, to be honest, if right now I had a son or a daughter which went to 5th grade into a typical school, I would have so many problems finding one. Because all the schools are constructed in a way that fits the left hemisphere, this separation mode. You just sit there on this uncomfortable chair. The teacher comes in. She says, calm down. Open the page 17. This is a bird. This is a digestion system of the bird, and it works like this. Or whatever. At some point, after having finished a school like that, we see a bird, and we don't think about the digestion system of that thing. We just don't see it, because it's not relevant for us, somehow. And the same goes for the universities. Let's see how our physical spaces shape our learning, and let's not get into these traps of getting in the box. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you propose a 50-50 split, right?
Yeah.
How can it be done? There's a saying that there's nothing more constant than change. And since Lithuania gained independence, it's always, we should reform our education. Where do you think we should, the ministries, the government should start from? Is it the preschool, school, university? Where's the starting line, you think?
That's a very left-brain question of where to concentrate the concentrate
Sure.
of the attention.
What would be a right hemisphere question? Can you help me?
And by answering this question, I have to to prove that what I was speaking I'm not applying. But being serious, I think what we really are not speaking in Lithuania and Europe and the world, maybe in some advanced places there is a discussion going on, but it's about the physical spaces of learning and how these shape the learning. So if the government has some extra millions to spend, and in our case they have billions, and they are just thinking, where could we put them? Let's build a building. So if the buildings are built and if some of the classrooms are being redone, so it has to be done according to 50% rule.
How should it look like? If I were to build, or if we were to build a new school, what would you recommend? How would you construct a perfect classroom?
it's very simple, actually. You have to get rid of these chairs, you have to get rid of these tables, you have to make as many surfaces on which you can write, on which you can collaboratively write. You can turn some walls into like boards. It really is possible, but the idea is that it has to be comfortable for collaborative work and for group work. Carpets, slippers. You know, boys aged 10, 11, and 12, if they get rid of shoes and if they go into slippers, their maths and reading results go up dramatically. You just have to use slippers. It's things like that which make a lot of difference.
Okay, and do you think like going through the 12 years of education on that awful chair, you know, being in the university, is it already too late to make changes? Because here we have CEO of ISM, so I think he's listening. So yeah, so you can now, you know, make a contribution to making this institution a better place for collaborative learning.
But it's already happening. The other auditorium which we have, you know, a few blocks from here is built for that. It's just a question of if the next one is being built, how is it going to look like? Okay. Is it 50-50, you know, here? Is it 50-50?
Okay. So with on that bombshell, thank you very much.